Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I'm your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels. And it's Wednesday, my dudes. Now, you're probably not watching this on a Wednesday, and I am certainly not recording it on a Wednesday, but it is a Wednesday in my heart. So today, we're going to assemble the Toad-al Power box. Yes, I know they're toads. I don't care. Box contains two models. Hopscotch, which is the large toad man here, frog. And then Hoochdini. Sorry. Space on the name for a second, which is another large toad. And this fine gentleman on his back with the grippers for free. Alright, that is our artwork. Renders on the back. Hoochdini over here. And Hopscotch. Missing all of his most important bits, but we'll get into that when we look at the sprue, which is now. Here we have a lovely sprue. I guess we'll go ahead and do it in the order on the back of the box. We will start with Hoochdini and then do Hopscotch. But if you notice, Hopscotch has some extra bits, a hat, a bow tie, and a dapper monocle, which are not on the render. Which I don't understand, because if you are any sort of fan of Malifaux, you will add these bits onto him. They are not optional for you, and they're not optional for me, so we'll be adding them today. But let's go ahead and look at the instructions for Hopscotch, and then get started. Hoochdini's instructions. Our assembly order, we're going to grab the two halves of the main body, so F5 and F11. Combine them, then add the frog back legs and butt, the barrels that are underneath his neck right there, and then we will do F9 plus F10 to make a left arm, and our right arm F6. Then we'll have an entire frog body. Once we have that, we'll grab F4, add his leg, which is somewhere on here. Here we go. F5, as well as the tail of his coat. Then attach him to the top of the frog, and then we'll finish with his arms, F2 and F1. Right, so let's start with these two bits. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I got the numbering right on that explanation, but anyways, here is the main body with the tongue, which I believe is F12 now that I look at the sprue again. We're going to go ahead and add F11 right on top like that. Now that we have those combined, let's go ahead and add our frog butt and back legs, which is F8. With our frog butt now in place, I think adding the barrels first before we do the forelegs is the way to go, but obviously I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and add F7 right in here. It was kind of weird to wedge that in there. Not necessarily a difficult thing, I just wasn't sure what the angle was. But now that you can see how I got it to fit in there, it should be easier for you. Let's go ahead and do the full right arm now, which will fit right in this slot, and that bit is going to be, oh goodness, F6. So the bottle attached to the shoulder is sideways. Alright, next is going to be our left arm minus the hand, which is F9. This one is hanging a lot further back than the right arm, as you can see, which it has it out in front. Alright, let's finish with our left hand, whatever, F10. I'm just going to go right in there. Alright, our frog is done. Now let's go ahead and work on his mount, the titular Hoochdini. Reminder of the bits, we'll grab F4 down over here, add F5 the leg down here, and the tails, F3. Put them on top of the toad, and then we'll do left arm F3 and right arm F1. Let's get to it. Here is our lovely body. Now, just add F5 right there. There we be. Now F3, the tails of the coat. Those look good. Now let's plop him down on our froggy toad, whatever. You can see where the crotch is and each leg goes. If the left leg was slightly out of whack, you should be able to adjust it now, but I got him pretty good. Alright, let's do our left arm, the one that is not holding the alcohol straight up into the air, which is F2. Obviously, put him in the shoulder blade right there. You know, that went in more difficult than I was expecting it to, but tweezers are very, very helpful. You can see a notch here that I failed to point out before, which is the guide to exactly how the arm is supposed to orient in the shoulder socket. But it looks good here, so let's finish with F1, his right arm, and call him good. Right there. Fun fact about the Artefactors Union, I bet you didn't know, I just stabbed myself on that last take, but his right arm is done. And he's all done. Get Hoochdini on a base. Hoochdini is all done. And a pretty model, and a pretty easy to assemble model, too. Hardest part was getting Hoochdini's leg figured out. But I know I got it right because he went right onto the space he had there was for him on the back of the toad. And I didn't have to knock anything out of place. I guess the arms were a little funky, but nothing a bit of poking with a stick or tweezers couldn't fix. So overall, quite an easy model. But let's move on to our next dapper gentleman. On to the big boy Hopscotch. I have this upside down. Here we go. Hopscotch. We will start by combining the two halves of the body, E10 and E8, followed by the back, which is E4? No, that's... Don't think that has a label. Whatever, here's the back. And then the front of the body, which includes the head, E9. After that, we can do each of the legs. Back right leg, E4. Back left leg, E5. Front right leg, E7. Front left leg, E6. And then if you were a coward, you would stop here. But we're going to go ahead and add all of his lovely accessories. E1, the bow tie. E3, the monocle, and finish with E2, the dapper top hat. Do it, you coward. Anyways, grab these two bits first. Also, let's maybe look at the instructions. Alright, I don't remember the label. Sorry. This bit is our right side, though. It's kind of weird to figure out orientation, but if you look at it, this big open space back here is the back leg. This will be the front leg. And then this wide open spot will be where we have the head and chest of the frog. So again, this is our right side. Our left side is just going to attach kind of like that. Alright, now that we have basis for our body, we can go ahead and add the unlabeled back, which I'm just going to go ahead and call E11, just because there's 11 bits. And I don't have an 11 on the sprue. So that is just going to go right along here. The wider part should be at the bottom, with the slightly narrow part, which I think is something like a neck, will be up here. Back looks good. Now, let's do the chest and face, E9. Alright, let's move on to the legs now. Back right leg is going to be E4. Alright, E5 is our back left leg. There's our seams. Alright, great. Now, front right leg is going to be E7. Alright, now E6, left arm. Okay, we are all done with the base part of Hopscotch, but we have yet to do the most important parts. Alright, let's first start with our bow tie, E1, up here. And looking at the details, it's a lot smoother on this side than it is on this side. So this will be the front of our bow tie, and orientation will be like this. Now, as far as an attachment point, Instructions don't have a place to put it, but there is a nice little notch right here, which would probably be a good place to put that. So I'm going to go and attach it now. There we go. Just get it to a point where it looks good to you, and then leave it. Since that's probably an unofficial connection point, they didn't make it so terribly easy to sit in place. But again, Pokey Stick will just nudge it how you need it, and then let it cure. He's got a bow tie now. Now, our monocle has E3. Let's do that before we do the hat. And looking at it, this side is this is our front. If we look at the back, this back side is less detailed, but also the chain should sweep backwards towards the body like it is now. So this is going to go on our right eye. However, you can probably put it on the left eye and no one's going to care. Just going off of probably how physics is supposed to work. So I think this is supposed to go on the right eye. Let me add that now. There we go. I like that. There is the tiniest connection point about here, but more on the inside of the frame, which also gave me the thought that it's supposed to go on the right eye. And this follows the contours of the body real nice, the way the chain is here. So that's my guess. It's on his eye. It looks pretty good to me, but put it on whatever eye you want. Now let's go ahead and do our top hat next. And there is our top hat. Get it fairly well wedged in between the two eye ridges, but back far enough that this gap here isn't too big. It's going to be a gap regardless, but it looks really good from the front. And we are now finally done with Hopscotch. Put him on a base. Hopscotch is all done. Fairly easy model overall. Hardest part was getting the monocle on there. And I can say that's the hardest part because you have to put the accessories on him or we can't be friends. Let's look at the whole box. The Toad-al Power box is completed, containing Hopscotch and Hoochdini. Or Hoochdini, Hopscotch, well, whatever. Easy box, quite easy, and very pretty models, and I love Hopscotch. He is so dapper. He's the bestest boy. I'm going to adopt him, and he's going to poison me in my sleep, and I'll deserve it. Hardest part of the whole kit was the monocle, and the bow tie was a little funky. As far as Hopscotch, just making sure you get the bits on in the right order. I guess figuring out. I mean, as far as Hoochdini, goodness, I've been making that mistake all day. As far as Hoochdini, Hoochdini himself being smaller bits than his mount. Yeah. Anyways, I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. You put those accessories on Hopscotch, or you're not invited to my birthday anymore.